Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to the latest Minutes Network AMA. My name is Matthew Walsh, and I'll be your host for today's session. We appreciate you taking the time to join us as we bring the community together to discuss the exciting developments happening across the Minutes Network. As many of you know, the company is advancing at an incredible pace, from platform growth and partner integrations to new commercial opportunities and market expansion. This AMA is part of our ongoing commitment to transparency, open dialogue, and making sure you're always up to date with the latest developments. Today's session will focus on the broader scope of Minutes Network and everything that powers and surrounds it, our products, our partnerships, our plans for the future, and network growth. Today, I'll be joined by Josh Watkins, the CEO of Minutes Network, who will be sharing high-level insights into the company's strategic vision, growth trajectory, and what the next few quarters hold as we scale aggressively into new markets and verticals. We've collected all the questions from our community, but before we dive into today's special event, Josh, would you like to kick things off and share a few words with the audience?
I would love to, Matthew. Thank you very much for introducing the floor. It's a real pleasure, as always, to be here. Ahead of us is something distinct, purpose-built, and positioned to transform how we think about scale and growth across networks industry-wide. And I think it might be wise to take the opportunity to answer the questions from the community before delivering today's special news. And I can tell you already that you're not going to be disappointed with today's updates, announcements, and information broadcasted. And I'm going to save the best until last. So, Matthew, if you would kindly read the questions from the community and the partners, that would be fantastic.
Thank you, Josh. So now let's move into one of the most important parts of today's AMA, which is your questions from our community. We've received a wide range of thoughtful and insightful submissions from the community, and we're ready to dive in and provide the answers you've been waiting for. After the questions, Josh will share a series of major updates. Now, without further ado, let's begin with the first question. Our first question comes from Ibis Nodes. In the AMA on the 17th of May, it was noted that iOS is ready for Jingle. The Jingle website states, optimized for Android, iOS support coming soon. Are there any remaining functionality nuisances between the operating system and rolling out, or can the Jingle website be updated? And post the SEW implementation of Jingle, could it be explained how it rolls out across the different apps leveraging SEW's platform? For example, is the next step apps individually updating permissions where required, then individually enable the Jingle SDK? Would it be the same process for Unity 3D?
Marvelous. The Jingle website is currently being updated to incorporate information on iOS, and also the full offering of our SMS solutions will be detailed and added in the up-and-coming update. As part of the SEW implementation of Jingle, it will be very clear in the next couple of weeks after our next meeting with SEW that I'm going to detail in today's event how the integration is going to take place and what steps are involved in the integration. Naturally, when the Jingle SDK is incorporated into any application, updating applications is a requirement. It doesn't necessarily mean that it has to happen on an individual basis, but it does need to happen. So we will detail the news with SEW in the coming hour.
Fantastic. Thank you, Josh. The next question is from the community member IL. Has the Epoch 1 snapshot already been taken? If so, if you remove some of the tokens after the snapshot, do you forfeit that month's staking rewards, or do you just get paid based on the lowest amount of tokens you had that month?
So this appears to be a token question, but I remember the answer that Mark gave during the recent AMA. I believe that he said you are rewarded based on the lowest amount of tokens held during that epoch.
Thank you, Josh. We will now move on to a question from the community member CR11. Out of the 3 billion projected users, how many will actually be monetized, considering that currently only 0.01% are daily active and generate revenue? Also, what are the current approximate revenue projections?
So I'm not sure where you got the figure 0.01%. This is not a correct figure. Details regarding these type of statistics on this particular element of the network are due to be released in a future Network Explorer update. I cannot give you a revenue projection, but I can tell you that we're working in a massive industry with technology that's specifically designed to reinvigorate carrier revenues, and that is extremely helpful and very much welcomed in this industry.
Josh, thank you for clarifying that. William has asked, it was mentioned during the April 17th AMA that the telecom exchange would be launched during Q2. The roadmap states its launch is now programmed for Q4. What exactly happened that caused the shift? And will the SMS rollout plans to start on May the 29th have its own testing phase as well? Or will it be fully released in production mode?
Okay, the telecoms exchange consists of multiple industry-facing components to be utilized by the wider industry. Adoption and utilization of these components will take place during Q2, although the combination of these products that will be released as the exchange could be ready much earlier than Q4. We've widely increased the amount of technologies included in the exchange and therefore set a later target date. So if you look at the original discussion of the exchange, it did not contain all of the technologies that have been detailed in the roadmap that combine to make this one sort of powerhouse of a trading market for the voice industry and SMS industry. So we've sort of broadened the product, although any date set in the roadmap has been meticulously calculated, and we always, expect to deliver earlier than communicated in that roadmap. Regarding the SMS rollout, it's not a test, it's production phase, and we can be very sure that the amount of SMSs being run in live production on the network will only increase. SMS is an extremely large model. It's a big part of what we're doing here, and we're noticing a significant uptake in the products that we're offering regarding and concerning SMS. We're getting a very warm welcome from applications and carriers when it comes to SMS, not just voice.
Thanks, Josh. Those two products are fantastic, and I personally am looking forward to the SMS rollout coming to fruition. Okay, so RS is asking, I'm glad to see the future scaling roadmap for the next 9 months. To better understand our progress, could you please provide the scaling milestones achieved over the past 9 months? Specifically, I'm interested in learning about any onboarded carriers or apps, as well as the current number of monetized users on the network.
Well, we have a large amount of carriers onboarded and a large amount of applications and partners in place. And to be honest, we're still onboarding carriers and applications and partners. I can tell you that a lot of work has gone in to create the future industry carrier of choice that is Minutes Network. To get to where we are today, I mean, just look at the roadmap and the announcements during today's event. This was by no means an instantaneous task. A lot of effort has gone in, a lot of time has gone in. I'm sure you can appreciate that when you reflect upon the roadmap and at the end of today's meeting.
The community member Toaster is asking, do we have any info on how the price structure works for SMS specifically? The average cost in any of the countries you expect this to land in? Also, specifically, would it be cost per text, or is it possibly like a monthly fee with unlimited text? He also asks, everyone I have asked in my personal life has unlimited calls and texts. So I'm wondering how the cost structure would work. I do realize just because the end user has unlimited text via the carrier doesn't mean the carrier won't have to pay Minutes Network per text anyway. Any info would be awesome.
Of course. SMS are charged per SMS. It's not an unlimited package or an unlimited rate of bundled SMS. Retail carriers that charge for SMS bundles, giving unlimited SMS to their customers, well, it's not unlimited. There's a fair usage policy that applies. If you consume more than the carrier deems as fair usage, you will be quickly disconnected. The reason that carriers offer these bundles of unlimited SMS is to attract customers. The margin that they are making, if you consider the fair usage policy that's in place, is large to say the least. There's a significant margin in there for these carriers, especially when they offer unlimited bundles.
Thank you for the clear answer there, Josh. Stakey Steak is asking, according to Grok, IDT Corporation, through its Boss Revolution brand and the IDT Global Wholesale Services, terminates over 24 billion international voice minutes and 400 million SMS messages annually based on the data from 2022. How much of that traffic could M&T realistically expect to terminate, and what would be needed to achieve that? And finally, if the M&T routes are the cheapest in the industry, why wouldn't Boss Revolution actively assist M&T in rolling it out as widely as possible?
Okay, we will provide IDT as many minutes as they can consume, and as many minutes as we can terminate in each of their live and favored destinations. Our minutes are the de facto cheapest in the market because of the way that we're terminating them. It's due to the technologies involved. We're not using the traditional termination model or channel to terminate minutes, and select minutes destined toward users of Boss Revolution are set to be part of the new model of termination offered to IDT and other telecommunications partners.
We have a question from D Pins. Has Minutes Network had any complaints regarding performance, quality, or any complaint at all from any telecom business entity this far? I'm curious if there has been any negative feedback at all and what Minutes Network is doing in response. And also, which milestone on the roadmap will bring significant call traffic and revenue from the Philippines market? As Philippines were mentioned before, but they are not specifically mentioned on the roadmap. Also, Josh, is the in-app voice support value-added service that has been implemented for SEW as part of the integration a reason for at least some of the delay? I'm curious if this was a recent request by SEW and if they currently have the final version of the SDK that includes this additional capability based on feedback and communications with SEW. So what is your best guess on how much longer it might take for them to complete the integration? I'm asking with an understanding that Minutes has done its part and it's up to SEW to decide when they push the new code into production.
Wonderful. We have not had any quality complaints or performance complaints. In fact, part of our model is to improve call quality and improve network performance. Philippines is a large opportunity for us as a carrier network, and it has since been added to the roadmap. And I must add that the roadmap is constantly being updated. As you know, SEW are a giant company. SEW have the latest version of the SDK, and it is being incorporated. The in-app voice support value-added service is not a new concept in terms of the agreement. It was discussed early on. The SEW integration is ongoing, and as I said previously, I will give you more insight into the focus on SEW later during this event.
Our final question until Josh comes and gives us all the major updates we've all been wanting to hear is coming from the Yorkshire Bull. I'm very excited for this project since March 2024. In the white paper, it states a projection of 500 million users onboarded in 2025. Can we still expect to see this achieved in 2025? And if so, can we expect that number of users to be monetized active users?
I think we can expect much more. The way that we're onboarding the users today is very different from any other model. 500 million users may seem to some an extremely large amount of users. It's also an extremely large amount of users for us at Minutes Network. However, it's not a large amount of users when you look at the deals that we have on the table, when you look at the contracts that have been signed on the table, and when you look at the technology and the preparation that's been put into place for the adoption of these users. We are designed to scale. We are designed to collect these users in a very special manner that previously has not been seen in this industry, and I don't think it's been seen in any other industry yet to date. So absolutely, we are on track.
Thank you for those great questions from our community. It's clear that there's a lot of excitement and curiosity around where Minutes Network is headed, and we appreciate everyone who took the time to send their questions in. Also, thank you, Josh, for taking the time to answer those questions with such depth and transparency. Now, Josh, I know you've got a powerful lineup of announcement for today's event, so over to you.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you to the community for bringing your questions. We'll open the floor to live questions later during the event. I think that brings us to the end of these questions. Let's move to commercials, integrations, and regarding network growth. The integrations and commercial team obviously have been very busy on the ground. The focus has been on Estonia, Jamaica, Serbia, Albania, and more countries in key markets. And they continue to be busy. Several integration contracts have been signed over the last 60 days, and we fully expect that the pace of the agreements being signed in these countries will increase over the coming weeks and months, providing the ultimate solution to fast network growth. And whilst Minutes Network priority focus remains on network scaling, and as previously mentioned in announcements and other events of this type, Minutes Network is building the largest telecommunications carrier in the world by integrating applications with its proprietary SDK technologies. We utilize these applications as building blocks to create elastic scale without the cost of advertising. Our technologies literally are engineered to adopt growth. We're making good progress, and whilst we're waiting on the larger applications to finalize the various integrations in their different states, of which, of course, I will detail later during this event, we recently added the idea of onboarding smaller applications, providing scale in smaller countries, providing an overall faster result. For an example, let's look at the beautiful country of Estonia. Estonia has around 800,000 Android users. So 80,000 users in Estonia on board, let's say 2 applications, each with 40,000 users each in Estonia, provides our carrier 10% coverage of the entire country. With an extremely decent rate per minute, this is a highly valuable revenue generative avenue, providing network scale in terms of revenue, live, active, onboarded users, and it's extremely easy to meet these numbers. If you can imagine that there are a lot of applications in Estonia alone, not to mention the other countries around, for us to actually gather 2 applications with 40,000 users each, it's not an impossible job. So let's say we're very, very close in terms of Estonia and other smaller key markets. They generate lots of revenue, and we have an eye on revenue here at Minutes Network. The onboarding of smaller applications in the countries previously mentioned, I can confidently tell you that whilst the smaller applications are small individually, daisy chained together, they equal a large application and provide significant countrywide coverage in these key markets. Now I'm going to take a moment to talk about the epochs. I know that everybody's been asking about the epochs. Concluding discussions with the internal team and the token team, Epoch 1 is set to end at the end of this month as planned. The buys for Epoch 1 will start by the latest July the 1st. On July the 25th, rewards will be distributed, and on the 25th of each month, rewards will be distributed by the token team as normal. There will be no change in the routine of token reward distribution. The Minutes Network Explorer will show the cash value being held for token purchases and the number of tokens purchased during the current epoch. In addition, I've confirmed with the team that the Minutes Network Token Explorer will show the number of tokens waiting to be released in the current epoch as rewards. So you can expect 2 Explorer updates and a detailed announcement to be made on Epoch 1 before the end of the month. The released milestone-based roadmap contains dates on scaling events amongst other events that lead to scale. Whilst it's not a Minutes Network token roadmap, I believe that that's around the corner and due to be released. We've ensured that any date on the roadmap has been studied and calculated perfectly. And in our view, we've definitely underpromised in terms of meeting these milestone dates, and we will therefore certainly over-deliver. During this period of network growth, we are also excitingly anticipating an extremely special guest to appear on our X Spaces with us in the near future, let's say the coming 30 or 60 days. This guest will provide his own opinions on our technology and on Minutes Network as a next-generation solutions provider in the space of voice and SMS-based telecommunications. That guest is not the kind of person you normally see on a X Spaces for a company that's just starting up. You can fully expect us to reach new heights in terms of global media presence in the coming months. We're receiving a lot of attention via existing engagements with application partners and carriers. And just going back to special guests and talking of special guests, and actually separate to the special guest previously mentioned, on June the 19th, we'll be holding our first telecommunications panel event. This will involve senior figures, executive figures, from a selection of our existing interconnections coming to the stage. Live questions from the audience will of course be welcomed. If you have any questions as to why the carriers chose to work with Minutes Network or questions related to the scenarios at hand, we look forward to hearing them and answering them. We'll be hosting this session on StreamYard and/or Discord as a live streamed event, and it is the first of many in a series of telecommunications related panel events as we grow and scale our network. Earlier this month, SMS was added to the Network Explorer and the appropriate API endpoints added for data visualization and gathering. We are proud to have delivered full SMS capabilities and compatibility to the network, and we now expect the numbers of SMS terminated on the network to skyrocket over the coming weeks and months from an array of types of carriers, including retail, wholesale, and more, with the first traffic due to go live tomorrow, and that's production traffic. Regarding integration with the UK-based gaming entity that's been mentioned previously, and having received confirmation from the entity directly, we still do not have a finalization date for this integration. As soon as we have a final integration date, the date will be announced and added to the roadmap. And as soon as we're able to disclose more information about the plans of the company, we will make an announcement on this. The integration stands to make a large amount of revenue for Minutes Network, and will have a noticeable effect on the live traffic on the network. We are confident that within the next 30 to 60 days, we will have released a good understanding of exactly where we stand with this product and what its integration holds for the near future, including from an analytical and numbers perspective. And as said, as well as the dates for the integration. Now on to SEW, a very important topic. A meeting with SEW to discuss the latest on integration of the SDK technology has been put in place, and we will be announcing the details discussed in that immediately after the meeting takes place. The announcement will also include the target finalization date where the roadmap will be updated simultaneously. SEW are an enormous company, and this integration delivers enormous scale to our network. With SEW onboarded alone, in its final state, we stand to become the largest carrier of voice traffic in the world by user base. The milestone has been placed on the roadmap, and as said, the date is pending. In addition to SEW, and separately to everything else I've mentioned during the Spaces event so far, there are multiple integrations underway that individually lead to direct scale of the network. Some of these items are already on the roadmap, and some of these items will be placed on the roadmap in the coming days as contracts are signed and closed. We expect to release the first series of our network scaling video diaries detailing the journeys and meetings held in various countries created by members of the team, enabling you to gather additional insight to the SDK integration and onboarding process generally at the company. I understand from the token perspective that a new token update on the Explorer will be pushed in the coming days detailing information on each epoch, as I previously mentioned, with the relevant API endpoints added and updated. I must also note that all metadata is ready to be pushed to WM Chain, including the instantaneous forming of interconnections via smart contracts on our platform and Unity. WM Chain will be integrated with all carriers, providing transparent and instantaneous billing settlement, and is already directly integrated into our switch and validation node technology on the telecoms backend. Now, perhaps the most two important items in this session, and these will be the last two for me in this session, but definitely not the least in terms of announcements or size. They say save the best until last. You can expect a major Asian destination to show up on the network and reflect on the Explorer in a big way. It will be larger than any other scaling event that's taken place so far. We anticipate this with great expectations from our side. Minutes Network will be accounting for 10% of the country's traffic in the extremely near future. You can expect to hear more on this in the coming weeks and over the coming weeks. Must be added that in a truly symbiotic nature, this is a joint venture based on a rollout with our partners at World Mobile. You can expect press releases to follow from the various partners involved. And now, last but not least, we also have a phenomenally massive release relating directly to scale in a combined launch with World Mobile, separately from that previously mentioned. We will be delivering major scale in more than 10 African countries, 5+ countries in the Caribbean, which of course include Jamaica, at, for example, 20 cents a minute plus, Dominican Republic, Trinidad, etc. It will also include Eastern Europe and Asia, and you can expect to see this edition on the map of milestones in the coming 72 to 96 hours, with an accurate target date included, and we will over-deliver on this target date. This is one of the biggest pushes yet for Jingle adoption, and will result in the absolute largest scale on the platform. The contracts are already locked in as of yesterday and signed. We will reach billions of users under this initiative. I cannot tell you how excited I am for this to go live. And simply put, it's record-breaking. It's entirely in our hands without any or too much reliance upon third parties. Only reliance upon the carriers is in place. We already have the carrier interconnections to make this go forward. And delivery on scale will be fast, swift, and stable. And with this seismic news delivered, I hope the community are having a fantastic week. I'm going to open the floor for live questions from the community. So if you have any questions, please request to speak and we'll answer them live.
Josh, thank you for those major announcements. It's truly exciting to hear the direction Minutes Network is heading. The momentum is real and it's clear we're just getting started. So now we're going to open the floor for the live questions from the audience.
If you have any live questions, guys or girls, please feel free to request permission to speak. It will be granted and we'd love to hear from you. Alternatively, feel free to post your questions in the Minutes Network community and our admins are watching. So as it stands, we don't see any additional questions in the community and we have not seen any live requests to speak. I think I'm going to wait another couple of minutes before closing the session and wishing the community a fantastic rest of the week. So I see a question here. Can you explain the WM chain announcement again, please? Yes, absolutely. So Minutes Network, under its partnership with World Mobile, we're going to be pushing all metadata live as it takes place, as the calls end and start and end, to the WM chain. This will help us in numerous ways. It helps us to understand what's happening on the network at a glance. It helps us provide transparent billing and billing settlement to the operators involved and applications involved. And it also gives us immediate transaction settlement for future products like the Exchange, Unity, or anything that kind of revolves around rewards. We'll be doing roll-ups as well to an additional L3. So I hope that clears that up, RW, for your question in the community. And I can see a question from Emperor Tamarin. Hi, Josh. Sorry, just got in. So no buybacks and end of Epoch 1 this month. Epoch 1 is set to end this month. Buybacks will take place and beginning July the 1st. I'm just waiting for more questions. I see a user has requested to speak. Crypto Val. Hi, Crypto Val. How are you today? Your microphone is now muted.
Yeah. Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
Hi, Josh. Hi. Thank you for this space. I have a question. We have been, it has been mentioned in the community about Kosovo. Could you give us a small update on Kosovo, please?
We are working with one of the largest applications as well as a couple of smaller applications in Kosovo. We have signed contracts with these applications and they are set to go live. We're in the process of integrating them as we speak. As soon as they are finished the integration process, which is relatively fast, it's only a few lines of code that need to be integrated, but there's bureaucracy around it. As soon as this process finishes, Kosovo will be live on the network. It's an extremely expensive destination. I think some retail carriers are selling this at 49 cents a minute.
So could we expect some integration, let's say, within 4 to 8 weeks or something like that?
At the very most, right now, it's set as TBA on the roadmap, and that's because we don't want to give you a date and miss it. We want to be careful about the dates that we communicate as a company. Any date that we communicate, we will absolutely not miss, and we want to make that absolutely clear to the public and our partners. As soon as we have the final date for Kosovo integration and it's set to go live, we'll update the roadmap, issue an announcement, and you'll see it live within days on the Network Explorer.
All right. Thank you. That was my only question. Thank you.
Absolutely. Of course. Thank you for bringing that up. So I see some additional questions now from the admins in the community. Earlier, you mentioned that buyback will start in July, potentially. Did you mean June? No, the buybacks will begin in July the 1st. A question from Brandolf Nova. Do we have a date and a process of how MNTX will be airdropped to WMTX holders? I'll pass that to Mark for the upcoming token AMA in early June. I know that there is a process defined. I know that there's going to be a spaces between both companies, Minutes Network token and Minutes Network and World Mobile token. RW, what countries can we expect from the SMS rollout tomorrow? They are European destinations, RW. We'll begin in Europe and we'll expand to the world. SMS is an extremely interesting product. It's got a lot of our existing partners and new partners from all over the globe interested. If you look at the rates provided by Twilio, they're making, in some cases, 1,000% on the margin. It's a $4 billion business, Twilio alone. We will be sort of directly competing with companies like Twilio that offer API-based SMS services, as well as on the wholesale and retail and B2B level. Jafar asks, will those countries be permanently online or will they come in and out as per previous countries during test scaling? There's a big difference between test scaling and production scaling. Which countries are you referring to, Jafar? If you're referring to the Asian launch, it's absolutely stable. If you're referring to the launch in the 10 African countries and more than 5 Caribbean countries I mentioned, as well as East Europe and Asia, it will be absolutely stable. Production scale is considered to be stable. All testing has been concluded. Just checking asks, if SEW or other apps on board over 1 billion users as predicted, will you burn the tokens allocated for network expansion? That is a token question. I think it's best that we leave that one for Mark. I don't have the specific answer to give you today. Nashi82, Unity is to be released Q4. Has this been delayed for public use? It sounded earlier that it was soon. No, it's not delayed. Unity is a fantastic piece of work, and a huge amount of time has gone into Unity from our engineers and carrier department. It's been in beta for more than a year now, and what Unity brings has not been seen in any of the related industries to date. There is currently no way to get into telecommunications like Unity is going to allow, the public to get into the business. It lowers the barrier of entry significantly, and it's really nice for the people in the world to actually be able to make some money as well. Not just the larger conglomerates and carriers take to having all the fun, let's say. Edgy Bruh. Josh, when can we expect the African and Caribbean countries mentioned, Jamaica, etc., to go live and show up on the network? I will give you a date very shortly. It's going to be the biggest thing that you can possibly imagine. We're not talking months, guys. We're talking a very short amount of time until we see this on the network. It's absolutely record-breaking. It's something that we already have signed contracts on, and you know, the delivery on this particular element of scale, amongst others, will be extremely fast. Callus Bling. Is SMS only through Jingle, or do you have to get other integrations with third parties to get SMSs terminated? We use a mixture of technologies, Jingle crossed with the revenue turbine, crossed with some in-house switching techniques that we've been studying over the last, say, 10 years. We're doing it in a more defined in terms of technology, you know, the technologies in use, it's more defined than our current competitors in the industry. And, you know, the profits that, you know, the amount of revenue that's generated by such activities on the network is immense. SMS is a absolutely phenomenally massive business. And I'm really excited for it to go live, and you will see consistent growth in terms of SMS. Voice is also big, but we've spoken a lot about voice. And, you know, as we get into SMS, you can be very excited. Okay, so we're just looking for more questions here from the community. From Cheeky Nigel on Discord, what will these great announcements mean for the Epoch 2 rewards? When will Unity nodes be sold? There will be an announcement for Unity nodes, and there will be a joint spaces with World Mobile on Unity nodes. I can't give you a date on that right now, but it's coming up. And these great announcements mean that Epoch 2 rewards will be consistent. I'm going to refer to Mark in the next token AMA and forward your question, Nigel, to Mark for a deeper answer. Okay, I don't actually see any more questions from the admins. Here's one, dwnft.eth. Will there be more nodes to be able to be purchased in the future, or you can only buy them secondary? We will never make more nodes in the future. Minutes Network Token have given us that commitment. And to reiterate, you can't buy a node from Minutes Network Token. You can stake for a node from Minutes Network Token, but we have an agreement in place that they will not be making more nodes in the future. The Unity node is an exception because it's already been announced. Glitch has a question. If onboarding is app related, is there talks of launching a direct integrated app, either Jingle, Minutes branded, or other for direct onboarding the public, or is this not possible? It is possible, Glitch. But one of the things that we avoid at Minutes Network is advertising applications to grow. We believe that that's an extremely expensive, older model. It's not that it doesn't work, it does work, but to attract 1 billion users or 100 million users in any given population or populations is extremely expensive. And I think, you know, the way that Jingle is built, it's designed to allow other entities to do the advertising for us, and then we kind of merge with those user bases to make them available endpoints on a network so that we can send SMSs and voice minutes to them. I hope that answers your question. If you have any more on that question, feel free to send it to the admins now. Callus Bling, regarding revenue protection for fraud, will your system help protect against SIM swaps at all? Yes and no. It depends how it's deployed in the country. The revenue protection system primarily is aimed at tax avoidance within telecommunications and routes that are running that are not supposed to be running in the way that they are running. So let's say, you know, non-licensed routes in a market. There's very strict rules around physical telecommunications termination and origination when it's not VoIP, okay? So we are helping the regulator's office find those issues and therefore saving a lot of money for the country. And yeah, the revenue model on that one is extremely interesting. How much is a Unity node? I can't give you that information right now. I'm sorry. It will be detailed in an up-and-coming Spaces between Minutes Network and World Mobile. Please clarify when buybacks from Epoch One are starting distribution. Distribution from buybacks from Epoch One lays in the hands of Minutes Network Token. It's not a question I can answer right now, but I can tell you that the buybacks will begin on July the 1st. William Nuvola, we have a question. Are we going to see SMS hit production and the Explorer tomorrow, May the 29th, according to the roadmap? Yes, we are indeed, and we're going to see it grow and grow from there. Jafar, why is there a 1 month gap? We all expected buybacks to start June the 1st, not July the 1st, since Epoch One ends in a few days. The gap is there because this is a decision that the board have made, and I believe that there is a very good reason for this gap to be put into place. And I cannot give you that reason right now, but I will forward this question to the Token team, and it will be answered in the next Token AMA hosted by Mark. Lucy, thank you for the great feedback. No, Toaster, I think you've got it. I think we've made some confusion. So distribution for Epoch One, as I said, will be on July the 25th. It's not 3 months later, just for clarity. When merchandise, AB? Well, I'll follow up with Jamie. It's got to be coming up very soon, right? He mentioned that it was almost ready in one of the last AMAs. So I'm also excited to have some merchandise. I've got a few people around me asking for merchandise, and yeah, that's a great thing. How many Unity nodes will be available? I don't know if there's a specific limit, DWNFT, but I think in the first rollout, all of the Unity information will be detailed in an up-and-coming Spaces in the community as soon as possible. I imagine that it will be only a couple of weeks before we see that joint Spaces take place and a plethora of different announcements made around Unity. Are we going to hear from Henri? We see he's there. Yes, you're more than welcome to hear from Henri. I don't see him as a speaker. Henri, if you'd like to request to speak, you are more than welcome to speak. Val, okay, I'm glad it's clear. Any more questions, we're always here, and the admins are also here. The token side administration team are also in the chat. They will be glad to help with any token questions in the meantime until the next AMA. I simply cannot answer those because I don't have that information. What is the next country we can expect to see on the Explorer with live traffic on the network? I believe, okay, that you will see more than one country at once in the next voice scale rollout. Hint to the guest joining the AMA. Well, he's a Google ambassador, if that's a if that's a hint. It's not from Google. It's not an executive from Google, but he is a Google ambassador. I don't know if that's a big enough hint for you. He's a very serious person, and we're honored to have him even consider joining our next special Spaces event. Do we have any more members of the audience who would like to come and speak on the microphone? If we do, you're more than welcome. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to answer your questions live if you have them. Okay, so I'm just going to wait another couple of minutes before we end this session, just to allow for any last questions to come in or anybody to request the microphone access. Callus, we will try to invite you to the stage manually because sometimes on X that actually helps. Let's have a look. Do you see an invitation, Callus?
Hello?
Callus, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I actually was typing out all my questions, and I think you actually got most of them. So I thank you for that. I'm just trying to look through my notes and see if I have anything. Um, so multiple countries will be coming online in the next voice update. When you turn these countries on, is it just like a filter that allows traffic from um like your connections to be live on the network? Is that sort of what's happening?
Yes, that's exactly right. It's exactly a filter that allows traffic to pass to the endpoints that have been set up.
So could you then tell us, maybe have any apps actually integrated Jingle? I know there may be a delay between when apps actually put the update out and then
There
you
are a
externing the
few.
traffic.
That there are already a few, but what we do is we save the traffic from switching on until we have a certain amount of coverage, usually 5 to 10% at a minimum. And we do that so that the performance quality is high.
So maybe you can talk a bit about that, because I know there's been a bunch of questions about why um, it needs to have a kind of critical mass, let's say, in one country to make the performance high. Is that like from some people's perspective, the network isn't really doing anything right now. So why does it matter if there's only 1 or 2% of the country on Jingle available? Um, why does that matter?
Right,
If you
right.
could maybe talk to
So,
that.
so we don't turn on the traffic until we have a set amount of customers in one country. And the reason that we act in this way, and we could turn it on right now in some countries, but the reason that we act in this way is because we want to deliver a certain connection ratio to the carriers that we're working with. It's not a requirement, and 503s are also not counted towards the average success ratio in any country. Officially in telecommunications, if you can't connect a call, you send a 503 service unavailable. When you send that service unavailable, the ASR does not take that into account, right? So it wouldn't necessarily dramatically lower the ASR, but internally it would be a low ASR, right? So the carrier might still be happy, but we're going to have to receive millions of calls in order to answer very few. And what we would like to do, especially at this stage in our growth period, we would like to make sure that we're at least answering a certain portion of those calls that are coming in and turning them into revenue.
Okay, so it's more of an internal kind of requirement you guys are having to do that.
We pride ourselves on our technologies. We're very proud of what we've built, and we want to see, the numbers always reflect the build that we've made. So, in order to ensure that, we limit the amount of connections that get sent to, an endpoint with or a country as an endpoint that doesn't have sufficient users onboarded.
Okay. No, that makes total sense. It was a question that I think had been hinted at before, and then people were wondering, well, if we're not doing anything right now, why does it matter? But that makes
Oh no, no,
sense.
no! We are doing anything. That
No,
that's
no, no. From the community's perspective, not your perspective. Like
sure,
the
sure.
the
No,
network isn't like it's just Bangladesh right now. So people were wondering, well, why wouldn't they just turn
well,
on, even if
there's
it's
some more in the background, right? We're in the process of doing a lot of testing. There's a lot in alpha and beta phase that goes on that is not shown. It's not shown because it's not lucrative. It's still alpha and beta. But as we move into production with these different elements and different components that we've built, yeah, I mean, it will speak for itself.
okay. And then maybe one other question in terms of scaling. There's the goal of 25 countries by the end of the year. that you've talked about before, and I think we're still on track. Are we going to see that kind of be gradually increase, like 2, then 4, then 7, or is it just going to kind
Some,
of be?
yeah, some integrations bring 10, 12, 15 countries at once, right? So I think it's not a case of being on track. We'll deliver much more than 25 countries this year, for sure. Where we stand at the moment, some applications deliver one country and some applications deliver multiple countries. But let's remember that we're not only dealing with scale via applications here, we're dealing with an array of technologies that are allowing us to onboard traffic into the network and bring unique innovation and get that innovation utilized directly and directly generating revenue within this industry. This industry is typically stagnant. Nobody really does anything. Everybody's happy with the way it is. The carriers are already making a huge amount of money. They don't need to change anything because it's not broken. However, we have seen several opportunities that allow us to reinvigorate carrier revenues, carrier profitability, and that's where Minutes Network comes in. And we have technology here that allows us to offer a vastly different and lower price than our competition to these suppliers. And some of these suppliers are some of the world's biggest names. We're dealing with some massive companies. So as things come onto the network, like settlement of billing, interconnections via smart contracts, live marketplaces, revenue turbine, etc. I mean, it will all fit into place. Some of those innovations alone could bring 50 countries at once.
Wow, that's pretty sweet. The exchange that we were talking about, will that only be utilized for international minutes, or will that also be utilized for like inside the country or local minutes?
It'll be domestic and international.
Domestic, that's the word I was looking for. Thank
Call
you.
centers, calling card companies, small businesses, large businesses, enterprises, wholesalers, the list just goes on. There's so many types of carriers that we are currently interconnected with and interconnecting with.
So is that your answer to try to get domestic minutes on the network? Because I understand there's a lot of domestic minutes, and obviously the network has a theoretical limit that it caps out at. So is that you like Minutes Network's answer to try to serve as many domestic minutes as possible without putting them directly on the network?
So as I've always said, the technologies in use can be optimized. This is, very much a version 1, but it's a very nice version 1. Once we deliver at full capacity, it'll be a nice problem to have to need to optimize for capacity, in terms of domestic minutes. We can always swap and change the minutes on the network as well. If we see a more valuable opportunity that's taking, the place of something that's less valuable but taking more space, then I think, that would be a business or a strategic decision that we would make.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you answering all our questions today. Thanks very much.
Of course, Callus. Thank you very much for coming live and giving us those extra questions there. So unless we have anything else from the community or from the admins that would like to be asked, and as I said previously, with this seismic news being delivered, I wish the community a fantastic rest of the week ahead. Hope you're as excited as we are. I hope we've answered your questions sufficiently. Watch this space closely because there's a lot going on. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for joining. And as we always say, every minute indeed does count. I will see you later in June.